back to Heather's greenhouse. So today is March 1st. So I'm going to do a combined video, kind of a garden walkabout slash chat about wildlife gardening and what I do to attract wildlife to my garden. One of the things that I do is I'm not fastidious in my weeding, because you know what? Those weeds are the only flowers that are blooming right now. And I've seen 2 butterflies this morning. So if I had weeded this perfectly, those butterflies wouldn't have had any nectar to eat. So, you know, think about being a little lazy and just kind of letting things be natural and go a little bit. Also, you've got the water. You can see it is barely running. I need to do spring maintenance on it, but you know, keep it fresh. Keep it fresh. The water for birds, if it's not moving, it's going to be full of mosquito larvae. It's just going to get nasty pretty quick, and that's not healthy for the birds. So it's important that you either change the water, honestly, on a daily basis if you're in the South because of the mosquitoes here, or you have it running. You know, if water's running, it's going to stay clear. You're not going to have mosquitoes. And let's face it, in South Carolina Zone 8, the mosquito is a state bird. So you've got to do what you can to control mosquito populations. The next thing we're going to point out is, so this is the rockery, not a rockery, it's a stumpery. So rockeries and stumperies are basically just piles of things. You know, rockery is a pile of rocks, stumpery is a pile of stumps or sticks or whatever. You know, it's just a pile of stuff that gives opportunities for beneficial insects to get in there and live. And that's great for wildlife, because when you've got beneficial insects, the birds have food, the lizards have food, and y'all don't see them yet, but I promise you, this place will be full of lizards. I don't know why, but lizards love the courtyard. So yeah, you know, again, just kind of, and you can do something more decorative than this. It doesn't have to be just like a pile. It can be, but it can be more decorative. You can plant around it. Alpines are great for this application. If it was shady enough, hostas, ferns, astilbes, all of those would be beautiful planted in and amongst the stumps and the limbs. And y'all, most of this is flotsam, I guess you'd call it. Driftwood. There we go. That's what you'd call it. Driftwood. Most of this is driftwood. Y'all know I live on a lake, so whenever we have a flood, I have to go clean up the backyard. And, you know, I take a trash bag and I clean up all the trash, because there's always trash for some reason. People need to do better about minding their trash. But I also get driftwood, so I collect it and I'll just throw it on the pile. So what else do we do for wildlife? Well, honestly, most of that conversation is going to be in the backyard. But let me do this part of the March garden tour. So you see, we've got Chrissy Ann here. Hey, Chrissy. You want to tell everybody happy spring? Say happy spring. And Miss Willow over here is on the porch. She's our other gardening girl. Oh my goodness. You are just too beautiful sitting there. So I do want to point out, you know, I am a cheap, lazy gardener. So I do have some spring flowering plants here on the porch. Miss Willow, are you tasting the ranunculus? Don't do that. But anyway, So I wanted to point out that you can buy annuals. Both of these pots, so the ranunculus and the calibrachoa, I think that's what it's called. No, not calibrachoa. That is a supertunia. I'll have to look the name up. But anyway, these were both on the 50% off rack at Lowe's. Everything else on this porch, I either grew from seed or I grew from a bulb. And again, bulbs I typically get at the end of the season. You can get discount grab bags that are just various bulbs that are just left over. You don't know what they are, and honestly, I don't care what they are. I just enjoy it, and I enjoy, honestly, the surprise. I like being surprised by what comes up. All right, so another thing to talk about are hanging baskets. Hanging baskets are absolutely gorgeous. I love them. I absolutely enjoy them. I want 2 more of them, but they are too expensive for me. I cannot justify the cost of a hanging basket. I went to Lowe's the other day and there was a hanging basket of strawberry plants, $20. Y'all, these 2 hanging baskets I put together for $8. Now you're like, how did you get 2 hanging baskets of strawberries for $8? Well, y'all, I've had these hanging baskets for years. I think my husband, who's very sweet and wonderful, surprised me with a hanging basket for some reason in the past, and I kept the pots. I keep all my pots. You know, gardeners are environmentalists. I'll just be honest, I think we are, because we are all about reusing, reducing, recycling, and that's what I've done. I've saved these hanging pots. And so what I did, I reused the pots. I had some potting soil already in the greenhouse at the potting station, so I reused soil that I've had for a while. The strawberry plants here and the strawberry plants there, they're 2 different kinds, but they're both everbearing. These are going to have pink flowers. Those are going to have red flowers. Ooh, there we go. Sorry about the fuzziness there. But you will see that pot, those were bare root. Now those I bought as small pots and they have grown. So buy bare root strawberries. Buy small pots if you don't want to deal with the bare root. Because the smaller you get, the cheaper it is. And y'all, let's face it. All these plants need is sunlight, rain, or supplemental watering whenever it doesn't rain, and some fertilization periodically. I fertilize not as much as they recommend. I fertilize about half of that because then I'm able to save money, and I haven't seen a huge difference between fertilizing once a month and fertilizing every 2 weeks. It's just my opinion. But just throwing out, you know, don't pay $20 for a hanging basket of strawberries. These 2 pots cost me $8. So get creative. All right, we will pick up in the backyard. I'll see you back there. But anyway, the reason why I started this channel is not to be a how-to for brand new gardeners, and it's not to show a beautiful garden. It's to show real life. It's to show you that it's okay to do what you can and just enjoy the garden the best you can. Very much like today. I apologize for the long shadows. I'm having to do this when I can. But I want to show you that, you know, this is a real garden. It is not perfect. It is not cleaned up. Now, after 2-3 warm days, I will come out and do some cleanup. But I don't get very fastidious about it, and a lot of times, and you can see it occasionally as I've walked around, a lot of times I'll just throw whatever I pull out of a bed on the ground. And the reason why I do that is because I want to give the beneficial insects an opportunity for them to get out, go away before I come back and clean up that mess and throw it in a compost bin. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope that this helps you to know that it's okay. Wherever you're at in your gardening journey, it is okay. Do the best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to enjoy your garden. And garden the way you want to. You don't have to have only 3 colors or only 5 varieties of plants. You know, I've heard both of that on various YouTube channels recently, and I don't buy into that. That's not how I garden. I mean, look at that bed. That would be a bed that would be a mess and would be immediately taken care of if I had a staff, which I don't. Again, it's just me. I do the best I can. And, you know, again, all of the stuff that I put in my garden, I either grow from seed, grow from bulbs that I buy on discount, or occasionally I will buy a plant from the 50% off rack at Lowe's. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be laborious. It doesn't have to look perfect. It has to be your garden. It has to make you happy. Which wildlife makes me happy. I don't see Mr. G out here this morning, but I'm sure he'll be back later. I saw him yesterday. Hopefully the editor can find one of the pictures that I took and superimpose that on the screen, or whatever it's called. But yeah, I have a wild grouse that has now taken residence in my backyard. And I love it. I think that's the coolest thing ever. I have the grouse because I'm not fastidious in cleanup. I'm not fussy about my garden. I let things just kind of go a little wild. Again, here's a great example of just a pile that I did pull out of that bed yesterday. And y'all, I think I mentioned this. The beauty of raised beds for me is when I'm weeding or cleaning up, I can do 1 bed a day. Now, as many beds as I have, and in South Carolina, there's always weeds. So by the time I get to the last one, it's time to go back to the first one and start again. But that's okay. For me, it's a slow, steady progress. And I put just, you know, whatever I pull out, I just throw it on the ground. Leave it there a day or 2, whatever fits my schedule. Then I'll go back and I'll clean that up and throw it in the compost. But that gives all of the insects an opportunity to get out of whatever they were hiding in during the winter and get back, you know, out into the garden. And because I have so many insects, I am able to have a wild grouse. You know, y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you. Normally this time of year, my hostas are coming out and the slugs and snails are coming out. Nah, Mr. G is taking care of all the slugs and snails. And I am so grateful for that. So, how do you invite wildlife and have a backyard habitat in your backyard? Don't be fastidious in your cleanup. Have lots of various heights, various colors, various flower shapes. That's very important for inviting different wildlife into your yard. One of the questions I do get is about bird seed. So I put bird seed out during the winter. I do not put bird seed out as soon as summer hits. Now I will use, you know, I've got a half bag in the shed right now. I'll use that half bag. I'll put it in the bird feeder, but I'm not buying any more. Why? I want all of the wildlife and all the birds to stay in my yard. So I feed them during the winter. But during the summer, I want them out here in my garden, working for me for free, taking care of all of my insects that I don't like. You know, I want my birds to be my pesticide, which takes me to the next thing that I do that makes my backyard inviting for wildlife. And that is, I don't use a lot of chemicals. Now, I use organic fertilizers on food. Typically, Dr. Earth is my go-to. It's kind of my favorite right now. I try to wait till it's on sale, or if I've got Amazon points, I will buy it when I've got Amazon points, so it's cheaper. Not that Dr. Earth is that expensive, because it's not, but that's just my go-to organic fertilizer for all of my edibles. Anything that's not edible, I don't care, y'all. I will use the, the blue powder, the stuff that everybody hates. I don't have a problem with it. The the chemical fertilizers, the slow release, I'll use it. Miracle Grow, I'll use it. If it's not a edible, I'm not that fussy about it. But one thing I don't do at all in my garden is I don't use herbicides, fungicides, or insecticides. I don't like using those products because, let's face it, herbicides, Roundup, we know that causes cancer. Don't use it. If you've got a weed, pull the roots out, or do like me and say, you know what? I'm going to make peace with the weeds, and I'm going to say, you know what? All you little hen bits and everything, I'm not going to worry about you, because A, you're covering the earth, keeping the ground covered, which helps all of the microbial life in the ground. And all of these beds are open on the bottom so they can access native soil. Another thing, these early flowering weeds, they're the food for the insects before anything that I have planted is flowering. This is a butterfly bush. I don't have a single flower on it, and I'm not going to for a while. But I saw 2 butterflies this morning, so I feel good that I'm leaving the flowering weeds for the early insects. I don't use fungicides. I don't use insecticides. I don't use pesticides. I've been gardening here for, a couple years now. I don't know. Y'all, it's almost like nature finds its own balance. Honestly. Because I make my yard, and y'all, I sat down because I've been under the weather recently. I've had some health scare, and it's still where I'm better, but I am slowly recovering, and so I get pretty weak and lightheaded, so I have to sit down every once in a while, so I apologize for that. But I make my yard accommodating and appealing to all wildlife. And because I do that, and because I'm not killing the bad stuff, I'm allowing the good stuff to come in and take care of it for me. So I don't spray for aphids. I know eventually the ladybugs are going to show up and take care of it for me. If I spray aphids, guess what? The ladybugs show up, the ladybugs are going to die. And then I've now lost an entire generation of free pest control. So I don't use them. And like I said, I've got to the point where my garden almost found its own equilibrium on that. Oh, y'all, I apologize. There's another boat coming through. So if the audio's hard to hear, I apologize for that. All right, maybe that's gone by quick enough. There are YouTubers that have to worry about passing cars, neighbors barking dogs. I have to worry about boat noise. You know, I'm not really complaining, am I? It's a good problem to have. I digress. I apologize. Back to gardening. So another thing I've learned to be okay with is I have learned to be okay when things don't make it. You know, if you have healthy soil, healthy plant, they can pretty much recover from any disease, any pest, any challenges they go through. But if you've got a plant that's struggling, that's when the insects, the disease, that's when that's going to come in and kill it. So you already had a plant that's struggling. Just, you know, if it doesn't make it, let it go. You know what? It's okay. What's the saying? That plant should have tried to live harder. Anyway, y'all, I need to go inside and take some medication and sit down. So I do apologize. I am going to wrap up now. If there's anything else you want me to talk about, please let me know. I hope that everyone appreciates the March garden walk / backyard habitat discussion. If you have any questions, please post it in the comment. If there's anything you want to see or know about, please let me know. Again, this channel is not a how-to. There are tons of YouTube channels on how to start seedlings right now. Y'all, you know how to start seedlings. I know you do. If not, go to one of their channels, watch it, figure out how to start seedlings. It's not hard. It's really not. I mean, I can do it. It's not difficult. This channel is more to show you it's okay. Wherever you're at in your gardening journey, it's okay. You know, there are going to be seasons where you're not going to feel it that season. And you're going to say, you know what? I'm just going to let it go for 1 year. Pick it back up next year. And that is absolutely okay. Do not watch some of these other YouTube channels that have full staff to help them maintain their garden and make you feel guilty or bad or less than or jealous of what they've got, because you know what? Your garden is perfect for you. So until next time, happy gardening.